Good morning, Falcons. I hope that you have had a great Wednesday. You should be watching this now on Thursday morning, unless you're doing it a little bit earlier, which is fine. Hopefully you've had time this morning, today, to start looking through this slideshow about close reading, kind of reading the slideshow pretty closely, making sure that you understand what close reading is, what annotating is, what all of that means. Those kind of go hand in hand. In order to annotate the text, which means to write on it, to be an active reader, you have to be close reading. And close reading just means to be reading it multiple times to examine and analyze and to evaluate the text. So once you have gone through the whole slideshow here, and read everything and looked it over, we're going to be doing these sample annotations together today, or at least I'm gonna shorten it. It's not going to be as large, but we're going to do some of that today. So you don't need to worry about the sampling pieces. You're welcome to read it if you'd like, but we're going to be doing that together. After you've done the slideshow, this is a quick 10-point quiz. I think it's only 6 questions that you needed to answer. So make sure that you're doing both of those. And then this is what we're doing for right now. We are doing this close reading and annotating practice. So click on that, please. And then grab a copy of it. It will force you to make a copy. And when you open it, it'll look like, it'll look like this when you first open it. Make sure that your first and last name is up here in the title for me. So how to do a close read. This is a checklist of everything that slideshow went through. And you can see that I've placed X's in certain places here. This is what we're not going to do today. I wanted to shorten it and make it a little bit more specific on what I'm looking for. So before you read, it's always important that you're thinking about the title of the story, what you know about or think you may know about what the story is going to be, making some sort of prediction right here. And then also looking at the author. Do you know who the author is? Now, today we're not going to be doing that, but when you're close reading, that's another thing to really do. Think about the author. Is there something that you should know? In your first read, the whole point of the first read is to understand. It's to just begin to examine the reading. What am I reading? What does this mean? That sort of thing. So what we're going to focus on today is doing a little bit of a summary. So every half page, or if it's a long piece of text, you might do just every page. You'll do a quick little summary in a box off to the side of what you've been reading. So the first read, you read that all the way through, just doing quick little summaries off to the side. That's the first time you read. The second time you read, I call it the work time. So the first reading is like a warm-up. Okay, if you think about an exercise, it's like the warm-up. The before reading is like the quick stretch you do before the warm-up. Or the getting all of your, putting your tennis shoes on before you go for a run. Sorry, I'm a cross-country coach, so we're going to use a running analogy here. But the before reading is like putting on the tennis shoes. You're thinking about it, making sure that you've got everything that you need to go out on your run. That first read is just that little nice warm-up. Do you understand it? And then giving me summaries about every half page to every full page, depending on length of the article. Notice that it also says something here about circling unknown words. I'm not going to make you do that in your articles this week, but if you don't know a word and it keeps you from understanding, then you need to fix that. So if you do not know what bewildering means, and you need to know what bewildering means to understand, then you need to go figure it out. You need to go research it. The second reading is the work read. This is where you start to dig in and you really push yourself to analyze this text and understand exactly the key pieces that the author is wanting you to do. So earlier this week, we talked a lot about theme. So theme and theme development is what we are going to be analyzing this time around. Sometimes when you analyze text, you can focus on just one thing. Sometimes you'll focus on all of these. But in this particular case, we're only going to be focusing and analyzing theme this time. You could be looking at characters. You could be analyzing characters' thoughts, their actions, their personality traits. There's so many things you could be doing with characters. You also could be examining the author's word choice. What words or word choices is the author using? How does that add to or take away from the story? And then also looking at literary devices and figurative language that help move the story along. But for this purpose, our sole focus in the work is to think about theme and theme development. So moving along with what we did earlier this week, we're going to be focusing on theme development. Finally, that final read is like the cool down. Read it one last time, just as an opportunity to make sure that you didn't miss anything in the work session, okay? And in our final read this time, we are going to be focusing on connections. We're going to be focusing on text-to-text connections, text-to-self, text-to-world, and text-to-world could also include text-to-media, TV shows, movies, songs, anything like that. We can also include that as well. Sometimes if I do text-to-media, I'll do T to M. So you would have T to T for text, T to S for T to self, text to self, and T to W for text to world. Sometimes I'll do T to M, neither here nor there. Okay, so use this as a checklist as we go through the expectations. And you can see right here that I have a little checkbox. Just move it over as you are done, and you can check off each of these as you finish. So let's go straight into what the PowerPoint told us to do, and that is to go ahead and think about the title. Now, this may be a bit hard to read, so the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to just blow it up a little bit and make it a little bit larger. So now this is a little bit easier for me to read. If it's still too small, you could try 200 seems a little bit large, so I may back off. I want to zoom out just a little bit, but maybe just clicking on it, that might be a little bit better. I don't know, that's not working for me. I'm going to do it this way, okay? So this is called The Necklace. So the number one thing is we're going to look at, it says, before we ever start reading, we're going to use our own background knowledge and predict based off the title. Okay, so The Necklace. So I'm going to start with, I feel like this story is going to be about a priceless family heirloom that gets lost or stolen. Okay, lost. Goodness, can't spell today. And heirloom. All right, so I think this is going to be about jewelry. Okay, I was a little bit more specific. I feel like the story is going to be about a priceless heirloom, something that was really important, and it gets lost. Okay, I always am not 100% sure how to pronounce his name, but I think it's Guy de Maupassant, I believe. I will go look that up for you, or we could go look it up together. This sounds French to me. So if we were looking at the author, it sounds French. And just a little bit of a background, some of the word choices in here feel kind of like they were used in the olden days, kind of back in the olden days. So I'm wondering too if this maybe was even something that might have been translated at one point in time from French to English. So we're going to go ahead and get started. The very first expectation is to read. We will stop about every half of the page. So I will probably stop right about here. So I'm going to drag over a little summary box. I think I'll probably stop right about here. And then I also think I will then do a summary at the very end. So I'm just going to drag my summary boxes. I'm going to go ahead and put this summary box on this side. Okay, so that I can be ready. I have another summary box here if I want to do another one, but I do not have to. So I just went ahead and said, okay, I'm going to read the first half, summary here, summary here. If you have a longer story, you may want to just do one whole page before you write your summary. Okay, so let's go ahead and read. She was one of those pretty and charming girls born as though fate had blundered over her into a family of artisans. She had no marriage portions, no expectations, no means of getting known, understood, loved, and wedded by a man of wealth and distinction. And she let herself be married off to a little clerk in the Ministry of Education. Her tastes were simple because she had never been able to afford any other, but she was also unhappy as though she had married beneath her. For women have no caste or class, their beauty, grace, and charm serving them for birth or family, their natural delicacy, their instinctive elegance, their nimbleness of wit, are their only mark of rank, and put the slum girl on a level with the highest lady in the land. She suffered endlessly, feeling herself born for every delicacy and luxury. She suffered from the poorness of her house, from its mean walls, worn chairs, and ugly curtains. All these things, of which other women of her class would not even have been aware, tormented and insulted her. The sight of the little Brighton girl who came to do the work in her little house aroused heartbroken regrets and hopeless dreams in her mind. She imagined silent antechambers heavy with oriental tapestries lit by torches and lofty bronze sockets, with 2 tall footmen in knee breeches sleeping in large armchairs, overcome by the heavy warmth of the stove. She imagined vast saloons hung with antique silks, exquisite pieces of furniture supporting priceless ornaments, and small, charming, perfumed rooms created just for the little parties of intimate friends. Men who were famous and sought after, whose homage roused every other woman's envious longings. Okay, so I'm actually going to kind of do the first 2 paragraphs, and then I'll come down. I guess this doesn't really matter. So I read the first 2 paragraphs and I stopped. So what's happening right here? Okay, so this is kind of a setup in a story. So I really feel like the narrator is giving a description of a woman who is incredibly unhappy in her poor life and low in her poor life and feels burdened by, no, let me do this. So incredibly unhappy in her poor life and longs for wealth. Okay, so you talk about up here that she doesn't have any marriage expectations. She doesn't have a way of making money. She marries someone that isn't wealthy, and that doesn't bring her happiness either. They talk about the caste or class system, that idea of poverty, lower class, middle class, upper class kind of thing, and being in that lower class. And then she talks about down here, she suffered endlessly, feeling herself born for every delicacy and luxury. She believed that she was born to be wealthy, that was the reason that she existed. And she suffers from having a very poor, worn out, old looking house and not ornate with all these beautiful things that she describes down here. But she also says that, you know, people in her class or society wouldn't even notice the things in their house that were wrong because that was normal to them. And she feels like that was not what she was born for. All right, so then we're going to finish reading. When she sat down for dinner at the round table covered with 3 days old cloth opposite her husband, who took the cover off the soup tureen, exclaiming delightfully, "Ah, Scotch broth, what could be better?" She imagined delicate meals, gleaming silver, tapestries peopling the walls with folk of a past age, and strange birds in fairy forests. She imagined delicate food served in marvelous dishes, murmured gallantries listened to with an inscrutable smile as one trifled with the rosy flesh of trout or wings of asparagus chicken. So again, here her husband is so delighted, okay? Seems happy with his life while she continues to long for a more luxurious lifestyle. Okay, so that's that same kind of thing, but now we know her husband's perfectly happy, you know, but she seems to not be, okay? All right, so that's how we would start with that. So I didn't check box them, but here's this check box, and then here's this check box. Now, there are tons of words in here that are difficult to understand. So make sure that if there are words you don't know, that you are looking them up, okay? And one thing that you could do while you are reading or working is you could always put a little circle around anything that you don't know. So for example, putting a circle around the word blundered could be helpful to you if you feel like, well, I don't know what blundered means. You could go back and figure it out. It's not required of you, but you might want to in certain cases. Okay. All right. So now we're going to get into the meat of the work. The meat of the work down here is to think about the theme. Now, I will tell you, this story is not complete. This is only a small excerpt. So the rest of the story is actually available if you wanted to finish it in another assignment. But now we're going to start looking for where the theme might be developing. Okay. So I'm going to read this again. But this time, I want to make sure that I am starting to think about where does the theme develop. Remember, the author always kind of layers in this introduction piece, okay? So I want you to pause the video for a second. Go ahead and read this a second time through. I'm not going to read it for you. Read it a second time through, and then I will talk you through where I feel like theme is starting to develop. But see if you can find it, okay? Pause the video now. All right, hopefully you've had time to read that through again. Okay, so we kind of have up here this start where you just kind of get to see and experience and hear a little bit about the main character. But it's right in here that we begin to really see, and so these are little highlighting boxes if you want to use these little highlighting boxes. We really start to see the theme begin to develop. So I'm going to put my little arrow right here, okay? So theme development. And so what is this theme development really sharing with us? Okay, so I'm just gonna kind of, can't spell today, my goodness, okay? So what I'm noticing with this theme development is that we are seeing a woman who longs for what she doesn't have, okay? Which, if she's longing for something she doesn't have, and we go back to this idea that this whole article is called The Necklace and it's based off of a necklace, I'm starting to change my mind about what the necklace is. So she's longing for something she doesn't have. She's poor. So in my mind, she wants luxury and she doesn't want what she has. And so maybe she doesn't value or appreciate things the way that she should. Value or appreciate the things she has. So I know you can't see that very well. Let me see if I can make it a little bit bigger here. Okay, so that's what I did here. Oh, I can make the text a little bit smaller too. That would help. Okay, so that's how I would do the theme piece here. I would show you, I would highlight a little bit here, and then I would type a little out here, okay? And then also, I feel like we start to see a little bit of a layer added when you see her husband down here seems super happy, okay? And yet she is not. Actually, I don't need to copy that. I can just drag, I think. Okay, so just drag, and this time I'm gonna change this around so that it's pointing on the other side, okay? So again, I'm going to do theme development here. And I feel like we're seeing her husband seems content. She does not. She does not and longs for more. So even the summary and the theme are kind of showing us some similar things here. Come on, I want you to. So the first thing here is I'm gonna make this a little smaller, and then hopefully I may have to move it first. Sorry, this is being difficult currently. Okay, come here. Okay, I'm gonna make myself disappear here. So you can see that I've got the theme here. Sorry, that took me a minute, I needed to pause. So I've got the theme here. So you can start to see how it is developing. Now, we've got one more step because we've kind of read it that second time through. And our last step is to make connections, okay? So again, I'm gonna have you read this one more time to yourself, pause the video and read it one more time, and then we will move on to the connection piece. Pause now. Okay, so I had to pause that for a minute. So I hope what you've done at this moment in time is read it for that third and final time. After we've done the theme development now, you have read this third and final time, and we're working on connections. So the biggest thing for me is that I felt like this was, I just want to drag it, please. Technology is not working. So when the author is talking about all these different pieces and elements here, like the silent antechambers, heavy with oriental tapestries, lit by torches and lofty bronze sockets, with two tall footmen in knee breeches sleeping in large armchairs. I don't remember even reading that part. Did I in the beginning? Anyway, point is, this all reminded me, this was a text to text for me, because this reminds me of Pride and Prejudice. And it's possible that maybe you have not read that or seen that, but any kind of movie that's like regal England, where there's I cannot spell today, regal England, where there's a lot of like kings and queens, anything where you kind of get this idea of hierarchies in terms of wealth, that's what I kind of recognize there. And so it made me think of Pride and Prejudice or any of Jane Austen's novels where it's kind of the England setting where you definitely can tell a difference in wealth. Kings and kings, my goodness. Kings and queens. Where you've got, you've got the servants, but you also have the lords and ladies, which are of a higher wealth class. So that's kind of what all of that reminds me of. Okay. All right. So take a moment, think about if there's anything that might relate more to you. Maybe there's something specific in here that is a text to self connection. And maybe there's something in here that's a text to world, something that's going on in today's society, or something that's going on to some sort of movie or TV show that you have read. Okay, when you are done with this, make sure that you have gone in and submitted this assignment. Because we are working around the article today, what I'd like for you to do is this. I want you to click on the share button. Make sure that instead of restricted, it says anyone with the link. And then I want you to copy this link right here. So you can click copy link. And then when you come in here, you'll submit it right here. I can't see what you see, but you'll submit right here. You will click in the Create tab and you'll paste the link, Control V, pastes. You'll paste the link right there. You'll paste the link right there into the Create tab. If possible, try to make sure that the link is live, which means it's clickable. by going in and clicking the link button. It looks like an infinity symbol. So let me see if I can give you an example of the link button. So the link button looks like this. It looks like an infinity symbol. And that would be in that assignment for you, is to paste that as a link in the Create tab, okay? And then hit Submit when you're done. Tomorrow's assignment, really quick while I've got you, tomorrow's assignment is going to be a long one. You need to pick, it says pick one of the 3 articles below, okay? You will pick from this folder right here. There are 3 choices. You can finish reading The Necklace. You could do the 7th grade story or the fan club, okay? I went ahead and picked the Necklace, so you can see the Necklace is actually 5 pages long. You can go ahead and kind of retype what we worked on before. I think the excerpt was just this front part right here, so you'll probably want to add some summaries or add some theme development to this. And then you can see on each page you have the ability to move the highlighting tool over if you'd like to highlight more pieces. You can add summary boxes. You can move the theme pieces over to the different areas. And you can continue to work in each and every one of these pages. Then at the very, very end, the expectation is for you to think about the theme that you were watching develop throughout the story. If you are an advanced student, please make sure that you are doing a theme statement. And not just a theme phrase. And then make sure that you're providing at least 3 pieces of evidence in your own words to support the theme, phrase, or statement that you created. And then you will submit that assignment back here in this assignment right here, okay? Let us know if you've got any questions, and good luck with your work today.